Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let's take a look at what's new in the Notes and Reminders apps in macOS Ventura. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to macmost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So macOS Ventura will bring a lot of changes to some of the built-in apps on your Mac, including Notes and Reminders. So the first thing you may notice in Notes is that if you're in List View here and you see a list of all your notes, they're grouped according to date. So for instance here I've got today, previous 30 days, April, March, and so on. So you can see different groups there depending, like you might see yesterday if I have one I created just yesterday. Now you have these folders here on the left and you can create your own folders and move notes into them. But you also have smart folders. So you can either do New and then New Smart Folder, or click the plus button down here and then create a new folder, but you can make it into a smart folder with that checkbox there. Now this is far more complex than in macOS Monterey because now you can define all sorts of things about the smart folder, not just the tags to include. Before, if you included two tags, it would basically only include notes that had both of those tags in them. But now you can do tags and then have a list of tags here, but do all selected, any selected, and then any tag, which removes this field here, or untagged notes only. So I can do any selected and then list a couple tags there, and any notes that have any of those tags, not all of them, will be listed in that smart folder. And then you could click this plus button here and do even more. So you can do things like date created, edited, whether the note shared, mentions in notes, whether it has checklists, attachments, and so on. So you can put a really complex definition of a smart folder in here. So say anything that has certain tags and was created, say, in the last 30 days and make that into a smart folder. Now instead of using smart folders, one thing you can do is just use tags down here to filter things. So you can see I have all iCloud selected here, and if I just wanted to see the ones that had the Alpha 1 tag applied, I can select it and I would get just those notes. Now if I select a second one, then it's going to show me notes that have both of those tags, which is nothing there. But I could change it right here to any selected instead. So now these are all the notes that either have Alpha 1 or the Beta tag applied. Now let me go and change back to all selected and click on this again. And now what I'm getting is anything that has Beta but not Alpha 1. You can see how there's a line through it there. So you can do that with as many tags as you want. Either have them on, have them excluded, or not take that tag into account when filtering here. So you can do pretty complex filtering of your notes to see which ones match which tags and which don't. And finally you've got the ability now to lock notes in a different way. If I lock this note here, you can see now I can do it one of two ways. I can use the separate password, which is the way we did it before, creating a special password just for use in Notes. But I could also use the login password. So the same password I used to log into my Mac will protect Notes. So the separate password is useful if somebody else has access to your Mac, knows the password, but you want to have a separate password so they can't get into your locked notes. The first one's useful if basically nobody's got the password to your Mac, but occasionally you leave it unlocked and you want to make sure that you're prompted for that password again before notes are unlocked. Now let's take a look at the Reminders app, which also has some changes in macOS Ventura. So you're going to see some groupings here as well. If you go to the Today view, you're going to see everything grouped into morning, afternoon, and tonight depending upon the time that the reminder is for. Also on the left here there's a completed list, so you can see all of your completed tasks in one spot. If you have a list that you use all the time, it's much more important than the rest of these, you could always select it and then go to File, Pin List, and it will actually add itself up here to the top. So to get to that particular list you've got this nice button now instead of having to search for it below. Now we had the ability before to create groups. So let's create a group here. I'll just call it Test. And you can see it's got this list in it. If I were to drop another list in there, I've got two lists. If I select the group, notice I see both lists now at the same time. So you can group together lists that have something in common, select the group, and see everything. Now you can also create a template list. So let's create a new list here. I'm going to call it Packing List. And I'll select an icon and a color for it as well. OK. And I'm going to add some things to this packing list. So now I've got this packing list here. What I'm going to do is go to File and then save it as a template. I'll call the template Packing List. So now I can go through and say check each one of these off as I pack for a trip. And then I'm done with this list. But I could always create a new list here. And I can go to Templates and there's Packing List. I can click here and this is where I can edit the template. I can show template info like that. I can rename it. I can delete it. Let's select it and create list. And you can see it creates a new packing list from the original template. And I can easily go in here and rename this to something else and reuse that over and over again. Filters in Reminder also work a little better just like they do in Notes. So here I've got different tags. I could select, say, this tag and see the lists that match it. I could select this tag and I'll see lists that match both of those all selected. But I could change it to any selected and I'll see lists that have either this tag, or both. And I can also click again and now I'm seeing lists that have this tag but not this tag. And another new feature is that the notes for each reminder inside of each list can use rich text. So let me select this one here. I'll get info on it and you can see there's notes. Now I can type something in here and normally this would just be plain text in here. But now I actually can control click it, two finger click on a trackpad or right click on a mouse and notice how the context menu has things like font styles and bullets and numbering. So you can create a little bulleted list inside of a note, inside of a reminder, inside of a reminders list. So it looks like macOS Ventura takes another big step forward in making the Notes and Reminders apps even more robust. Any of this could change, of course, during the beta, but hopefully we'll get all of these new features in the fall with the release of macOS Ventura. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.